Tonight, Unit 13 is investigating what could be a galactic-sized lie. Who really was the first man in space? Could the history books be wrong? Only Unit 13 knows about the Cosmonaut Cover-Up. Here's Kent Ninomiya.
1961, the space race is on, and from the Soviet Union comes Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. But was he really? A controversial new documentary claims there was an earlier flight, one that didn't make it into the history books.
Because the Soviets had not yet perfected proper re-entry and landing procedures, cosmonauts were expected to eject between 10,000 and 20,000 feet, then parachute to safety.
The documentary, The Cosmonaut Cover-Up, claims this dangerous maneuver was tried 5 days before Gagarin's flight by this man, cosmonaut Vladimir Ilyushin. But there was a malfunction, and Ilyushin couldn't bail out. They say Ilyushin crashed and incredibly survived. Even though they say he was the first man in space, Soviet leaders were too embarrassed to talk about it.
Nikita Khrushchev used the space program as his propaganda hammer, only telling the successes, never telling any of the failures, never telling any of the hardships.
Elliott Haimoff produced the documentary here in his Santa Monica studio. He says the Soviets had a long history of covering up accidents, like this rocket explosion that killed hundreds of scientists. After 40 years, Haimoff says the Russians are still covering up Ilyushin's first space flight. This former Soviet military officer says he witnessed Ilyushin's launch.
I was thinking to myself how most people could only read about history, and here I was being a part of history.
Haimoff traveled to Russia to talk to Ilyushin, but says the cosmonaut was afraid to talk for fear of government retaliation. Haimoff says the American government is part of the cover-up. To this day, documents on the flight are classified. Haimoff believes the military doesn't want to reveal their detection capabilities or their sources.
That's why the Russians don't want to tell the truth. That's why the Americans don't want to tell the truth. Because if they're going to have their people saying, well, okay, if you're lying about this, if you covered up about this, then what else are you lying about? What else are you covering up?
And Haimoff says an American Air Force engineer now claims to have tracked Ilyushin's flight. He says the engineer was warned to stay quiet.
He went to the National Security Agency, and they told him in no uncertain terms, if you're going to get in front of the camera, you're going to go to jail and you're not even going to pass go. And they told me in no uncertain terms that this information is top secret, is not to be revealed.
With the truth at last unveiled, Vladimir Ilyushin deserves to be recognized as the space pioneer and hero he is, rather than as a footnote in a falsified history.
Now, Haimoff has tried to use the Freedom of Information Act to get a hold of those sealed NSA files, but so far his requests have been turned down twice. Now he's planning to sue the United States government in hopes of getting access to those files.
And I guess you can't blame that cosmonaut or the general for not talking.
No, he has a very good life in
Russia
right now. He has a lot to
Interesting,
live. Absolutely, very compelling evidence.
Wow.
Thanks, Kent.